Hey y'all, welcome to this week's mental health vlog. It's not been an easy week. I want to thank everybody who's bared with the fact that I couldn't do the Bonnet Chronicles this week. I just was not feeling that great. It is always rough around this time of year. The spring should bring out better moods, but for me, it's always a wrestle between the manic and the lows. And then you pair it with the upcoming holidays of both Mother and Father's Day, which have always been really hard times for me. It's just not a good time. So I needed some time off from thinking about politics and social issues. I will be back on Tuesday with a new one, and I'm just grateful that you guys let me talk about those things. But it does get to be a bit draining constantly thinking about all the bad things that go on in our society. So I just wanted a break. So I took a break, been working on my creative projects, trying to get my stuff together for that, and just not focusing on, basically tomorrow. I'm going to treat it like it's a regular day, graciously thank anybody who says Happy Mother's Day to me. But the holiday itself has always been a touchy subject for me. I don't shy away from talking about the fact that my mother and I aren't close. Even though my grandmother and I were close, my mother and I always had a tenuous relationship. I always felt like I was basically raised to be her caretaker. And when I realized I couldn't do it, the fallout was big. And I had to wrestle with the guilt of not being good enough to take care of her, even though that's not my job, and so many other things that are culturally baked in to, especially my family line, that I don't want to keep repeating. Because when the first person in your life to be your true bully, the first person in your life to really manipulate and mess with your emotions all the time, you get that out of your life. When you cut that amount of toxic out of your life, you shouldn't have to feel guilty about that. And I just want to remind those of us on Mother's Day and Father's Day who aren't close to our parents, who had tough relationships or even abusive relationships with your family, it's okay for tomorrow to just be a regular day, or it's okay for you to find ways to celebrate it without having to remind yourself that you're not going to be with that person. You're not going to act like everything's okay when it's not. One of the things that I have allowed myself to do is more in the fact that I don't have that close relationship, that I probably never did, and do my best not to repeat a lot of the stuff that she's done with me with kiddo. It is not easy. There are times where I worry that I am doing the exact same thing she does, and it makes me nervous. Being a mom is both a fascinating and terrifying way to be, and I'm grateful, but I also worry that I am going to give him all kinds of worries and trauma and stresses, and it's not a fun headset to be in. And I think for holidays like Mother's Day, people push, oh, they gotta get you a gift, they gotta make the day special. And for me, just a peaceful, quiet day is more than enough gift, because I dealt with the kind of parent that was like, "Oh, you gotta get me this," and then she pawned it. Especially jewelry. She loved for me to buy like rings and other crap that she could show off for a bit, and then when she needed money for whatever, pawn shop. I feel like getting people gifts when all we're gonna do is just sell it to get high just makes me not want to get people gifts anymore. I have a weird relationship when it comes to dealing with Mother's Day because of it. Because you watch somebody like literally get excited. You get that bit of dopamine hit watching them smile over something you got them, only to know a few weeks later it's going to end up in some pawn shop, and it just loses its magic. And for me, I've never been much on getting gifts just because it's a day. So, yeah, I just need people to understand that there are a lot of us out there like this, that don't have those close relationships with our parents. So days like Mother's Day and Father's Day is hard for us. And it's okay. It's okay for you to not want to celebrate this day. It's okay for you to feel like this day sucks ass, you know? I feel like a lot of us push through and put up a wall or a front. And I think it's better if we just get it out of our systems. Realize that we don't have to like this holiday. We don't have to celebrate if we don't want to either. It can just be a regular day. But there are going to be a lot of people around us that want to say Happy Mother's Day or Happy Father's Day. And the best thing you can do is just say thank you and keep it moving. That is what I've been doing for the last few years, you know, especially when she was still living with me. It was rough. There were a few Mother's Days where I was just like, I want to even hear that. There's nothing happy about it. And it sucks, you know, because like I said, our community tends to be matriarchal. Our community tends to tell you that blood's thicker than water and you got to deal with it. You can't choose your relatives. And it's like you can choose how much of their nonsense you're going to put up with. You can choose setting the boundaries so that you're not stuck in a toxic loop of not only self doubt, but complete depression. And when you have somebody who's narcissistic, who's manipulative, who will literally try to make it where you question everything about your decisions and then make you feel guilty when you realize you cannot deal with their stuff now, it's not okay. And there are so many of us out there that struggle with this. And your health problems shouldn't be used against you. Your past shouldn't be used against you. Setting and keeping your boundaries, especially with a parent, is so important because, especially the older generation, they will love to guilt trip you. Oh, how dare you cut ties with me? I'm your mom or I'm your dad, and then everything is toxic. Life gets so much easier when you don't have the pressures of taking care of somebody who only cares about themselves, who only wants to deal with things that make them happy. And I realize that by saying that, I might come across as selfish. I might come across as a bad daughter, and I'm okay with that because I'm not here to be a good daughter anymore. I'm here to be a decent mom to my kid. So that maybe when he's older, not only does he not have to, but if he can and has to, he'll be strong enough to set a boundary with me. I think it's important for him to see that you don't have to take awful stuff from people no matter what. And if he ever felt that way towards me, I want him to see that he can be strong enough to say, you know what? I don't want to deal with you anymore. I'm hoping that I'm good enough to where that doesn't happen, but I think it's important for him to see that you don't have to keep toxic people in your life. You don't have to keep somebody in your life that makes you feel awful about yourself. You don't have to be with somebody who has always been the source of more downs than up. And that's the best way I could put life with my mom is there were more times than not that I just wasn't happy. And I know that a lot of that wasn't her fault, but I also know that a lot of it was. And I just feel like I'm at a place in my life where I've learned to be okay with not seeing her anymore, not dealing with her anymore. And that the worst part of even cutting her off was getting over the guilt I felt for being finally relieved, letting go of the need to keep in contact, letting go of the need to try to push past the manipulation, letting go of all of that nonsense was hard, but it is impossible. I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. Like I said, I'm not doing long ones of these for now, but I just wanted to have something out there for Mother's Day. I might do another one for Father's Day. I don't know. Like I said, these holidays are not the best one for me. I just don't enjoy them for my own personal reasons, even especially after becoming a mom, because, you know, most of you know my relationship with kiddos birth father was not good. So I had to deal with those people who are like, oh, I guess you're the mother and the dad now. It's like, no, I'm just the mom. And I realized that for some people, well, you need both parents in your life. But for me, I learned early on that you really don't. And sometimes you don't have either, and you have to rely on others to help raise you. And I had a lot of other people who helped raise and foster who I am, from grandparents to aunties and things like that. So, yeah, I don't ascribe to that whole, oh, you've got to get credit for both parenting. It's just, I do a lot of work. And I wasn't alone. I had friends. I had my boyfriend who has stepped in big time. So I just think that these holidays for me are not a good, it's not a good place for me headspace wise. But I will be back on Tuesday with the Bonnet Chronicles. I know that this week was just bad for content. I just did not have the energy. My body was just not willing to work with me. And I've learned about streaming, especially, is if you're not feeling it, it comes through on that. And I would rather be enjoying myself and having fun so that the people watching are enjoying themselves than to try to put out content just because. You know, I know that the people who watch these, and I know that the people who sit in on the Bonnet Chronicles love and support the show. So I really do appreciate you all. I'm going to wrap this up, and I will see you all next week with a new mental health vlog. Who knows what I'll talk about, but I definitely just wanted to let you know that even though the depression and body pains have been bad, I am still here. I still plan to make content. It's just going to be touch and go. And when I'm not feeling it, I'm just not going to do it because that's the best way.